Good morning, everyone. We are here with the Headline Books Zoom Into Books program, and today we are featuring one of the best Headline Books children's book authors, Julia Black. She's going to do a reading and book talk on her series about Charlie. Go ahead and take it away, Julia. Thanks so much.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy spring. I hope everybody's doing well during this coronavirus crisis. I'm an author, but I'm also a registered nurse and I work in surgery. So please don't forget to wash your hands and maintain your social distancing. Stay inside, but now that it's getting really pretty, you can go outside and take walks and have fun with the children outside. So my book is Meet Charlie. It's Charlie and the Vine Street Gang. It's a true story about a dog that just showed up in our neighborhood. He was a stray dog, and we rescued him, and he became a really big member of our family. And really looking back, I don't know if we rescued him or he rescued us, because he was just a great dog, and we had a lot of great memories with him. So this is a lot of the characters in the book, the real characters that are part of the book. Here's where we were featured on the front of the Charleston Gazette, because Charlie will later on have adventures at St. Albans High School. The teachers would let him roam free, and he knew my brother's schedule and my schedule, and he'd be in our classes when the bell would ring. And so they took a picture of that, and everybody at the high school loved Charlie. So let's go on with Meet Charlie. It was summer on Vine Street in the sleepy little town of St. Albans, West Virginia. Billy, Christy, Patrick, and little sister Marie were the best of friends and played together every day. One particular day, they were playing touch football and noticed a small dog walking towards them. He was small, black and tan in collar, with no collar, and very, very skilled. So here we are playing touch football, as we did lots in the summer, and this is my friend Christy, Patrick, Marie, and Billy, and there's Charlie. He walked right up to them, wagging his tail, and he was very happy to see them. Marie was immediately drawn to the black and tan vehicle. "Where did you come from?" she said. "Poor little guy, I can see your ribs." So there we are. And Marie and Christy called, "Here, boy," and got the little dog to follow them to Billy's backyard, where there was a tree dripped with green apples that were a mix of sweet and tart. Christy carried a salt shaker with her to sprinkle salt on the tasty green apples. They offered some of the small green apples to the dog, and he gobbled them up like he hadn't eaten in a long time. So this is Billy's backyard, and we ate apples off of that tree all the time when I was growing up. And if you know anything about dogs, they won't normally eat green apples, so he must have really been hungry. When the children heard their mother calling them home for dinner, Patrick and Marie ran up the street towards their house, and the little dog followed. Marie quietly tiptoed into the kitchen for a bowl of milk and a few slices of bologna. "What are you doing?" her mother asked. "Just a little snack, to tide me over until dinner," Marie said. So there I am, sneaking food out of the refrigerator for Charlie. The little dog happily gobbled the food as his tail wagged. "I'm afraid you might bust," Marie laughed. "I think I'll call you Charlie." Suddenly, she heard her dad's car pull into the driveway. "Well, hello," he said cheerfully. He looked past her and caught sight of the little dog. "What is that?" His voice wasn't so cheerful anymore. Oh, when my dad got home, he was always happy. We were really close. So here I am, and I know I'm in trouble when he sees Charlie. "Well, this is my new friend Charlie," said Marie. "He's starving. Look at his ribs. He's all alone and he needs a home." "Now, Marie, he can't stay with us," said her father. "He needs to go." Dad's arms rose over his head in the air. "Get!" he yelled to Charlie. As Charlie scurried away, her father said, "And you, little girl, get in the house. We don't need a dog, and I don't want to see him hanging around here anymore. Understand?" So off went Charlie down the street. "Yes, Dad," Marie answered. Dinner around the family table was very quiet that night. While Marie did understand, Charlie did not. So there's Marie and her sister Robin, and here's poor little Charlie looking in, wanting to come in and eat some spaghetti with them. The next morning, Marie and Patrick's dad found Charlie sleeping on the front porch and ran him off. "Get! Get!" he yelled, waving his arms. This went on for a week. So here he is in the morning, and then at the end of the day, and in the morning again, because Charlie would wait till my dad would leave, and then we'd go out and play, and he played with us all day long. One day, older sister Robin overheard Mom and Dad discussing the dog catcher coming to collect their new friend. Robin warned Patrick. That day, Patrick, Marie, Billy, and Christy took Charlie in the garage and took turns keeping watch for the dog catcher. So there they are, and there's the dog catcher, and he went up and down the street probably 20 times that day. Charlie continued to hang around the neighborhood. Each time the gang went out to play, Charlie cheerfully joined in the fun. He gobbled up the treats they offered, especially the ice cream. After a few weeks, it became obvious Charlie would not give up. Thankfully, Dad did. "I give," he said. "What is this dog's name?" "Charlie," Marie said with excitement. "Okay," said Dad. "He needs a bath and he needs it now." Relieved, Mom gave Dad a big kiss. And so did Charlie. After soaping and rinsing Charlie, Patrick and Marie hoisted him out of the tub, and he shook all over. Yeah, Charlie hated his baths, but he would love it when he got out of the tub because we would chase him all over the house. He would just run and dare us to catch him. Still wet, Charlie slipped through their hands and away he ran. Dad eventually became Charlie's biggest fan. He would even feed him ice cream with a spoon for a treat. Now, a dog who loves ice cream, this is my kind of dog. And that's the end of Meet Charlie, but that's how Charlie became one of the Kennedy family. So the next book in the series is Charlie and the Vine Street Gang, Highland Days, because his first scholastic adventure was to Highland Grade School, where we'd walk every day to school. And Charlie just thought he was one of us, so he followed us to school. Chapter 1. It was a beautiful fall morning on Vine Street in St. Albans, West Virginia. Excitement was in the air as it was the first day of school. Patrick and Marie pushed through the front door with Charlie, their black and tan beagle and constant companion, close on their heels. Sporting freshly cropped hair and new clothes, school clothes, they were all set for their first day of school. "Woohoo! Hold up there," Mom called, holding an Instamatic camera overhead. "I need a first day of school picture," she said. Okay, Patrick and Marie sighed as they all three turned around on the family walk to pose. You look as handsome as shiny pennies. Cheese. So there they go, the first day of school. Patrick and Marie ran down the length of Vine Street with Charlie close on their heels. The street that lined Vine Street was where a mixture of brilliant orange, red, and golden amber. Marie ran to the left side of the street, to the tall blue house, to collect her friend Christy. Patrick and Charlie ran to the right side of the street, to the White House, to get friend Billy. The friends, along with the black and tan beagle, continued down Vine Street, laughing and talking about the first day of school and their new teachers. As they walked, they were checking out each other's new lunch boxes. I have a Lost in Space lunchbox, Patrick exclaimed. Billy, what is your lunchbox? He asked. Holding up his lunchbox, Billy said, I have a Captain America, as he raised his right arm and flexed his muscle. Well, look at mine, said Christy. I have dark shadows. Ooh, they all interjected. Barnabas Collins. What do you have, Marie? Christy asked. I have the monkeys, she said, holding up her lunchbox. Oh, I love that, giggled Christy. Davy is so handsome. So there they go on their way to their first day of school. Chapter 2. As they walked the length of the street, they passed a yellow house on the right with a metal fence, where Major, the German Shepherd, sat on the front lawn. Seeing the group, Major jumped up and began barking and jumping wildly at the fence. Since they frequently walked this way, Major would always bark and growl at the group. Charlie, sensing Major was safely behind the fence, protectively returned the bark and growl without incidents as they continued past. The group continued walking, turning onto Canal Terrace, passing Mr. Ed's gas station. Mr. Ed, the owner, always stood outside waving a friendly greeting to the children en route to Highland School. The children always wave back. Mr. Ed's gas station is a fixture in the town of St. Albans. So here is the German Shepherd that always growled at Charlie, and Charlie would growl back. And as they walked down Canal Terrace, we would pass Mr. Ed's gas station, and that was Mr. Ed. Chapter 3. Mrs. Lewis, the crossing guard, with the assistance of 6th grade patrols, stopped the traffic for the group of children with Charlie close behind. I can't wait to be a patrol, Billy thought. That's so cool. Maybe I could be captain one day. He imagines himself standing with the captain's badge, seeing all the patrols saluting to him. Come on, Billy, Patrick said, nudging him out of his daydream. We're going to be late. The two patrols opened the doors to allow Charlie to pass through, with Charlie following close on their heels. Hey, you dog, the patrol half laughed and pointed at the other patrol, took notice. You can't come in here. Patrick and Marie got out of line and grabbed Charlie by the collar. Come on, boy, you have to stay outside, they said, as they walked him out to the big oak tree in the schoolyard. Now stay, they commanded. Charlie settled down under the tree and watched them go back into the school. So here's Charlie and the oak trees here, and he's just sitting in the schoolyard. Chapter 4. Inside, the students all sat on the stairs quietly in single file, waiting for the first bell to ring. All of a sudden, with the next wave of children entering the doors, Charlie came running in fast and up the stairs. Look, it's a dog, the children shouted, laughing and pointing. The patrols were trying to reach the little dog and maintain order, but the children were all laughing and trying to reach out and pet the dog. So there he comes, and there goes the books flying and the pencils, just causing all kinds of chaos. Suddenly, a voice boomed from the upper landing. What's going on here? Quiet, quiet, quiet. Inside voices, little people. It was Mrs. Schultz, the principal of Highlawn Elementary. She was clapping her hands hard with bright red fingernails, glistening in the air. "Whose dog is this?" she said, hands on her hips and a look of disapproval on her face. Patrick and Marie were, with heads lowered, slowly raised their hands. While everyone was watching, Mrs. Schultz said, "Okay, Patrick, you and that little sister of yours follow me and bring your little dog." She led them down a hall into an office and set them down at a desk facing her with Charlie sitting on the floor next to them. Mrs. Schultz was tapping her long red fingernails on the desktop, looking straight at Patrick and Marie, who were both feeling a little sick. "Your dog cannot be here." Tap, tap, her fingers went. "I have called your mother and she is coming. I don't want this dog hanging out here and disrupting my school. You take him outside. Your mom should be there. I don't want him back here again, and you are now late for your first day of school," she exclaimed. And she was really scary. Patrick and Marie led Charlie through the front doors of the school, where Mrs. Kennedy was waiting beside the huge white Dodge, the family car they called the Dragon. "Woohoo, woohoo, over here," Mrs. Kennedy called as they led Charlie over and hoisted him into the Dragon. "Well, interesting day already," Mrs. Kennedy said, sounding slightly exhausted. "See you after school." She waved out the window as she drove the Dragon towards Vine Street with Charlie hanging out the window. Patrick and Marie ran back into school and joined their classes. Chapter 5. Mrs. Kennedy arrived home, parked the Dragon, and took Charlie inside. He ate and drank most appreciatively and then settled at the corner for a nap. In a little while, the phone rang and Mrs. Kennedy answered. "Well, hello, and how are you?" Charlie got up and ran back to the front door without Mrs. Kennedy noticing. He arrived back at school just as Patrick and Marie's classes were starting recess. The children were swinging. Well, here's Mrs. Kennedy, and there's Charlie running back out of the door. The children were swinging, playing on the jungle gym, and jumping rope. Charlie ran and played along with them to the children's delight. Just then he spied Marie with her class playing a game of Red Rover. The children stood in straight lines facing each other. Just then Anita called out, Red Rover, send Marie right over." As Marie took off, Charlie was fast on her heels as they ran and tried to break the chain of hands unsuccessfully. Charlie ran straight between their legs, and there was a roar of laughter from both teams. "Okay, you two are on our team now," someone called out. It was the other team's turn, and Tommy, a classmate, called, Red Rover, send Marie right back over." Surprised, Marie again took off with Charlie close behind her, and alas, was still unable to break the chain of hands. And again, Charlie ran through the students' legs. Both sides, including the teacher, Mr. Sevilla, erupted into laughter. Here they are, and that's Mr. Sevilla. The bell rang loudly, signaling the end of recess. "Darn, that was fun. We were just getting started with Charlie on our team," one of the children said. The children filed into a single line and headed back into school. Marie called to Charlie as they passed the big oak tree. "You stay here and I mean it. Don't you come inside." Charlie settled at the base of the large oak tree. Chapter 6. After a while, he began to explore the large elementary school. As he rounded a corner, he noticed some open windows on the ground floor. Charlie stuck his head into one of the windows. There was a sudden eruption of giggling and laughter. "Look, there's that dog." When Charlie spotted Patrick sitting in the room, he began crying and trying to climb in the window. Mrs. Todd, the teacher, was standing at the front of the room. She was in the middle of teaching a lesson on the voyage of Christopher Columbus. "Quiet, children," Mrs. Todd said. "We all saw this dog on the playground. Does anybody know whose dog this is?" she asked. Patrick raised his hands as his classmates simultaneously pointed at him. "Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Todd," Patrick said. "My mom came and got him earlier today. He must have escaped." Okay, quiet, children," Mrs. Todd said. "Seems like we aren't going to get anything done. We better help him in. Patrick, you and Billy help." "What is his name?" she asked. Everybody in the class chimed, "Charlie," at the same time. "Okay, help Charlie in," Mrs. Todd said. "He has to sit quietly in the back of the room." Patrick and Billy did as they were instructed. Charlie, too, as he settled into the back of the class contently. "You know," said Mrs. Todd, "Christopher Columbus and Charlie have something in common. They were both exploring uncharted territories. That takes a lot of courage, don't you think?" The students all nodded in agreement, and after a while, the bell rang. "Chris, you and John help our sweet little visitor back out the window." The boys jumped up, lifted Charlie, and he shimmied back through the window to the playground. He ran back to the large oak tree. There they are, putting him back out. Chapter 7. The final bell rang and the school was a burst of activity with children spilling out of the front doors. Mrs. Kennedy, worrying about Charlie returning to school, had arrived back and was standing outside by the dragon. Patrick, Marie, Billy, and Christy were starting for home with Charlie close behind. "Woohoo, children, over here," called Mrs. Kennedy. The group ran back to the white car. They opened the door for Charlie and they all piled in. "How was your first day of school?" Mrs. Kennedy inquired. They looked back and forth at each other. "It was wonderful," Marie said. They all nodded in agreement. "I guess Charlie must know the way. I don't know how he got out and came back." "I don't know what happened," said Miss Kennedy. "Hey, I've got an idea. Let's get to the Tasty Freeze and celebrate your first day of school," she said. So there they are hanging out the window of the big white dragon. "Yeah, let's do." "Okay," they all said, jumping up and down in the car seats. Charlie nodded and wagged his tail in agreement. At the Tasty Freeze, they all had huge scoops of Polynesian Blue, which was a mixture of blue and purple ice cream and was as pretty to look at as it was to eat. It was everyone's favorite ice cream. Marie held Charlie's cone for him, and they all sat on the ground eating their ice cream. It was a beautiful fall day, and everybody was happy. They all gobbled their ice cream. "It was a great first day," Marie said. "Right, Charlie? I bet we're going to have many, many of these to come." So there they are. There's Charlie eating his ice cream. And that was the best ice cream. I never could find any of that ice cream ever since. Chapter 8. Charlie continued to follow the Vine Street gang to Highline School every day. Even Mr. Ed was ready with a treat for him as they passed in the mornings. Charlie never went back into school with the group after that first day, but instead he settled happily at the base of the large oak tree, patiently waiting for recess, where he would run and play with all the school children. Mrs. Todd developed a soft spot for Charlie and let him continue to shimmy through the window the whole school year with Patrick's class and the following 6th grade year with Marie's class. Mrs. Todd presented him with a diploma on the last day of school. Everyone stood up and sang, "For he's a jolly good fellow," including Mrs. Schultz, who knew all along about the 6th grade guest. Charlie held his head up and even seemed to blush a little. Marie blushed too. The class celebrated with big bowls of Polynesian blue ice cream, including Charlie. This was the last day of school. And everybody's celebrating. And there's Charlie with his diploma and his hat. And that's the end. So these two books, Meet Charlie and Pylon Days, both won a Mom's Gold Choice Award. And I'm so proud to be a part of the family of Mom's Gold's Choice. You can go to Headline Books to obtain a copy, and it will be a signed copy for yourself. Just go to the Headline Books website. This is a chapter book, and there's a chapter book also for Meet Charlie, and we're trying to market these for schools, and they're good for like older students that don't want to carry around the bigger books, and really good for just reading projects. And so, and I appreciate everybody for coming today or tuning in today and watching us on Zoom Into Books. And enjoy spring and stay safe during this coronavirus outbreak. Thanks so much.